Online identity. We seem to live online more and more. We shop online, we pay online, we study online, we make friends online, we entertain online, we find a romantic partner online. So many aspects of life that just yesterday were the exclusive territory of the offline world have now become online. And in most cases, it's very smooth and very accommodating. Except one pesky issue that is a lingering challenge for security and cryptography. And that is the issue of online identity. It is a question that has a lot of question marks, philosophically speaking. A few years back, when the first heart transplant occurred, people asked themselves, who is this person? The donor or the receiver of the heart? So the word was, well, it's all in the brain, the identity. But then came the question about Alzheimer and dementia patients. Are they themselves? So the question of identity is difficult without computers, without the internet. An old saying states that you cannot visit the same river twice, because the second time around it's already new water, it's a new river. And all this burden of uncertainty is moving towards the online. Now, in the offline situation, we automatically determine identity of someone that we engage with based on a plethora of parameters, lots of visuals, the size, the shape, the behavior, the sound of the voice, the contents of what they say. We have lots of parameters to go on to determine with great certainty that that's Jerry over there and not someone who tries to fake the identity of Jerry. But in the online world, the only thing that we have is a stream of bits. If you want to prove your identity to a verifier of your identity, the only thing that you can do online is send off a stream of bits. And this stream of bits will have to convince the verifier that he is talking to you. Now, not only is it all reduced to a stream of bits, regardless of its picture or voice or whatever it is, it's just reduced to a stream of bits. In the online world, we have no control what happens to those bits as they flow from us to the verifier. The famous challenge called man in the middle, which is someone that collects those bits, may alter them, and send them to the verifier and do something similar on the way back, is always present. So we have the man in the middle, and we have the reduction of identity verification reduced to a stream of bits. That is why it is a big challenge. Now, how are we attacking this challenge? The majority of cases, amazingly, is based on what's called an explicit display of an identifier. We prove our identity by showing data that the verifier in its database knows or expects us to have it, whether it's name or social security number or a password or even our fingerprint or iris or palm parameters. These are explicit. All the data that we send explicitly is subject to be copied, is subject to visibility to the hacker, who can the next time around take the same parameters, the same password, and claim that he is you. We know about this risk, and still the momentum of activity in the online world still is such that the vast majority of instances of identification online occur strictly on the basis of a fixed identifier. Nothing more. The second level above the fixed identifier, or the explicit fixed identifier, is to prove your identity implicitly. Again, you have an ID, a piece of data with which you identify yourself. We cannot get out of this because, and that's a side note, cryptography does not deal with identities per se. Cryptography as a discipline deals with discrimination between someone who is in possession of a piece of data and the rest who are not. There is no further delving into the issue of identity. It is simply a discrimination between someone who has a password, a PIN, social security number, a mother's maiden name, and someone who does not have this possession. So there is no distinction between you who has this information rightfully or someone who got it from you unwittingly or stole it from you. Cryptographically, you look the same. So that is a great incentive to hide the original data with which you prove yourself and communicate a different piece of data which you derive from the hidden data. And only the derived data you send over to the verifier and tell the verifier, look, by this data that I send you, I should convince you that I am who I claim to be. Because only if I were that person, I would have had this hidden ID from which I compute the derived IDs that I'm sending to you. And this is based on the concept that the next time around, I will send you a different derived ID. So the man in the middle, or the hacker that has complete visibility to all the communication between us hitherto, will not be able to guess what will be the derived piece of data that I should be sending to prove myself the next time around. This implicit display of ID can be done through a device that, based on the hidden data, calculates every so often a new derived ID, and you just look at it. It may be an RSA key that you are finding a number that changes every 60 seconds, and this is the number that you key in to hide the number that is inside the device, which produces those alternating numbers. Or it can be based on a dialogue. It's called a challenge-response dialogue, that there is a question and an answer, and it is designed cryptographically in such a way that only if you have the hidden key, you will be able to answer the questions rightfully. And eventually, it terminates when the verifier computes the probability for you to be not you, sufficiently small, and then it determines the dialogue is over. I believe that you are who you are. But it's always a case of probability. The next level of defense or weapons that we have for this difficult problem of identity determination is what's called a multi-parametric identification. We are trying to emulate what we talked about that happens in the offline world, where we identify people by many parameters. If we can identify people by the ID that we gave them, if we can tell them, last time that you contact us or logged into this website was yesterday, and then you say, no, I didn't do it yesterday. I wasn't here yesterday. Then you have a chance to catch or detect a fraud. We have different means of using the IP, the phone, a fax, different channels, all in order to do multi-parametric identification. The problem with multi-parametric identification is that it's very burdensome, and one has to vie for a proper balance between the security that's gained and the convenience that is being preserved. The battle over identity determination is right now almost a losing battle, because we created a situation where we have almost the entire population of this earth can present itself and knock on the door of everybody else and say, I'm so-and-so, and claim credentials for being whoever they claim to be. And many strangers present themselves as who they are not, whether it's in dating sites or business sites. It's so common. And many people are abusing the many identities that have been stolen. So many of us have shadows, people who use our name, our social security number, our data, and live in parallel to us. We just never know. And they use it maybe to do things that will rub some ill repute on us and not on them, for whatever reasons. The summary is that identity online is a lingering, difficult problem, and it has to be respected as such.